Welcome to MMA Dogs. My name is Hector. This is my dog Dan.
Hi.
And we are in Las Vegas, the home of the UFC and the mecca of MMA. In our opinion, and we've talked about this before. What do you got, dog?
Yeah, we both agree on this. They go out there and finish a fight early in the first round, but don't get caught speeding. Don't get caught speeding on this fight.
They're against a guy who just got bit by a dog with rabies or something.
For me, it's do not bet.
And betting advice: do not bet.
But it's going to be one of those things, guys. I really feel it. It's unanimous. MMA Dogs have spoken.
5-star, and that's going to be a knockout. Just something to highlight the night.
MMADogs.com. MMADAWGS.com. Who's ready to make some money? I know we are. If you're ready to consistently profit over and over again, you've come to the right place. Now let's go to my dog Hector from America's finest city.
Welcome to MMA Dogs. My name is Hector, and today we will be taking a look at UFC 171. And before I get started, I want to thank our clients, and I want to thank all of our supporters. And we have 13 fights to take a look at, so this is going to be this card is just stacked from top to bottom, so it's going to be a very exciting card. There are some very interesting matchups, some very interesting stylistic matchups, and let's get this show on the road, baby. Yeehaw! We're going to Texas. So let's take a look at the first fight of the night. Oh, before I get started here, you never want to make a bet that your ass can't cash. So we go into this thing with the best of intentions, trying to be as profitable as possible, and but you never want to bet more than you can afford to lose. And then you always want to check your local government laws on wagering. So now that we got those two things out of the way, let's get this party kick-started. So the first fight of the night, we got Daniel Pineda versus Whiteford. So let's talk a little bit about Whiteford first. He's 0-1 in the UFC, trains at American Top Team. He is European. He comes from the UK, so we know that he's one of those fighters who says, hey, you know what, I'm going to assess my situation. What do I need help in? A lot of European fighters need wrestling. They need to be around higher caliber level of fighter, especially in the grappling department. So he's a smart guy. Trains at Coconut Creek now. He's a southpaw, so he's got that going for him. He's okay everywhere. So he's got decent striking, decent power, okay grappling. He's got a judo background, and he's got good ground and pound. So he's just overall well-rounded guy. With Daniel Pineda, we have a guy who, in my opinion, is a little bit better. So Daniel, he's 3-3 in the UFC. All 3 wins have come by submission. And Whiteford's last loss was a submission loss. So that's going to be an opportunity for Pineda to use one of his strengths against a guy who is working on it, working on one of his weaknesses. So that's a good opportunity for him. The thing I don't like about Pineda, though, is sometimes he shows up and sometimes he does not. So he's an unreliable fighter. In his most recent fight against Diego Brandao, he held his own. He's fighting at home. And for Daniel, I would say the weaknesses he has are his striking defense. He gets hit a lot. His cardio, he needs to work on his cardio. And all things said here, he's minus 230, which is way too much to lay on an unreliable fighter of this nature. So it's a total pass here on this one. Do not bet whatsoever. But I'm going to go with Pineda. Pineda is my pick. And I'm going to say by decision, if not the submission. Now for the next fight, very interesting matchup here. We're all very familiar with Bubba McDaniel. So we got Bubba McDaniel taking on the newcomer Strickland. Let's talk about Strickland first. So he's making his UFC debut. He's a slight favorite. He's making the debut on 18 days' notice. He's 13-0 overall. So, undefeated guy, undefeated prospect coming in. He's real young. He's only 23 years old. He trains at Millennia MMA with Lorenz Larkin. So he's got a really good training partner in him, and there's a couple other up-and-coming guys over there. But making his debut, we have to take into consideration the octagon jitters. So what is his demeanor going to be? And by looking at him at the weigh-ins, I mean, this guy was just absolutely starstruck. He was saying, oh, he was cussing on there. Oh, shit, there's so many people in the crowd and all this and all that. And just did not look like a calm, collected kind of killer that record would make us believe. He's a King of the Cage champion at 185 pounds. King of the Cage, it's not UFC. It's not UFC caliber at all. So he's got knockout power, though. But like I said, the opponents leave a lot to be desired. And when he's fighting Bubba, let's talk a little bit about him. His original opponent at this fight card was supposed to be Tor Trang, or Thor, and which is a much better fighter. But Bubba does train at Jackson's MMA, so Greg Jackson's camp. He tends to freeze up, though. He'll freeze up, and he's just not fighting up to his potential. John Jones has said it. In the gym, he's one of these guys who's just unbelievable, and then once he gets in the octagon, he's just not fighting up to his full potential. The opponents he's beaten are not good, so that's another strike there. His last fight versus Tavares, he lost a decision in a fight which a lot of people picked Tavares to win via knockout. So he lost that fight, and but he did end up stealing a round. He ended up getting a round, which was a boost for him. So in this fight, it'll be in Bubba's best interest to get the takedown or to tie up Strickland against the cage and big brother him, outpower him, outmuscle him, and also to listen to his coaches. He's got some of the best coaches in his corner, but he's got to listen to them. So those are a lot of ifs, and I'm not interested in investing any kind of money in either one of these two fighters just yet. So it's a total pass. I'm going to go with McDaniel via decision. And then moving on to the next one. This fight is very, very interesting. This one is very. It's one of these matchups where you look at the matchup and you ask yourself, what in the world are these odds? I mean, it's just let's talk about Campuzano first. So it's Scoggins versus Campuzano. Campuzano, for this fight, he's got a full camp in. Full camp. He was already prepared to fight on this card, whereas Scoggins is moving in on 45 days notice, which isn't too bad. It's nothing too short like with Strickland, 18 days. So Campuzano's got a full camp, but he is 0-3 in the UFC. Now, in the loss he had with Sergio Pettis, he took that fight on short notice, so he ended up, in my book, he ended up winning one of the rounds. So he lost a 29-28 decision to Sergio Pettis, who a lot of people, regard as one of the young up-and-coming prospects. And he also fought out of his weight class, so he wasn't at 25, he was at 35s. With Campuzano, I see a guy who's very well-rounded. In this fight, he needs to get the takedown and control Scoggins. Don't let him work any submissions. Control him on the ground. Very much like the previous fight. Big brother him, outmuscle him, and work towards a submission. And a very conservative ground game at that. Don't be aggressive and give up a position, because once Scoggins gets back on the feet, that's going to be trouble for Campuzano. So with Campuzano, one of the things I do like is he has beaten undefeated prospects at 125 pounds. If you go back and watch his fights, you'll see that he's beaten some guys who were prospects, deservingly or not. But he's sitting at plus 445, plus 445, and a lot of times when fighters are sitting at those odds, it's a trap. It's something to get you to put some money. I'll put a flyer on it, or I'll put whatever on it. But that's one of those things where it's like, man, you've got to be kidding me with these odds. And with Scoggins, he's 1-0 in the UFC, 8-0 overall. He trains at Coconut Creek, Florida, Team ATT, American Top Team. And his opponents that he's faced leave a ton to be desired. So his opponents are not good. He's a big prospect. So in my opinion, he's still a prospect. He's an excellent striker with his karate background, kickboxing. He's very good on the feet. He showed us very good on the ground now too, rapidly improving. Like I said, short fight, 45 days. And one thing that stood out to me that I did not like is that in his fights that he's had, he said that he doesn't go in with a game plan. He has relied on just being more well-rounded, better everywhere. And in the UFC, that's just not going to pan out. I'm sure his coaches, whether Scoggins is aware of it or not, have some kind of plan for him, especially with him being ATT. So, sitting at minus 500, minus 550, minus 600 in some spots, that is just unbelievable. And it almost makes me want to put a flyer on Campuzano, but I'd rather throw that on something else, on something that I feel more confident in. So Scoggins for the pick. By decision, though, I don't think he will get the finish. He could. Minus 500, he should get the finish. But Scoggins is my pick there. Moving right along here to another good fight. We have Forch versus Trevino. Now, Trevino, he's making his UFC debut, and this is a classical striker versus grappler matchup here. Trevino has fought at 205, 185, 170, and 155. He's finally making his debut at 155 pounds at the age of 32 years old, which for a human being is not old at all, but for a professional MMA fighter fighting in the UFC, that is old. And he is 11-0, but the competition, once again, is not on or near UFC level. So, he's Mexican. He was born in Mexico. He's now in Texas. So this is a huge fight for him, great opportunity. And his grappling is a weakness. His jiu-jitsu definitely is a weakness. And with Forch, we have a guy with very good wrestling, very good jiu-jitsu, black belt in jiu-jitsu. And Forch just needs to go in there, get the takedown, especially in the first round, get the takedown and work towards a submission. In this case, he can't afford to be aggressive because he does have that much of a grappling advantage. And with Forch, he needs to do this because his chin is not, he does not have a chin. So it's going to be in his best interest to get the fight to the ground, be aggressive, work to the submission. And I have faith in Forch. So Forch is my pick. The Brazilian is my pick. And I see him getting a submission there. And then moving right along here, we got the Dominican TriStar prospect against the Texas boy. So we got Garcia versus Spencer. Now let's talk about Spencer. Spencer is 2-1 in the UFC, and one of those wins is a split decision. He's got really good boxing. He's a point fighter, though. He's a point fighter, striker, who wins mostly by decision. He doesn't have the knockout power that Garcia has. And these type of strikers who want to keep the fight on the feet, want to win a decision by outstriking, outpointing the opponent. I can't back up somebody like that, And I don't think it's going to work here. I really don't think this is going to work. His ground game is not good, and he can be submitted for sure. So with Garcia, we have like I said, the Dominican Republic TriStar prospect. And we saw Faraz Zahabi with him at the weigh-ins. He looked very good at the weigh-ins. He's 11-1 overall, undefeated in the UFC. Very well-rounded, knockout power. He's got great combinations. He's got submissions. He's got the wrestling. So in this fight, he's got a great coach. He's got great training partners. He needs to get the takedown and get the tap out, just like Forge. Get the takedown, tap him out, boom, it's over, and we win. So Garcia by submission. And then moving right along to another guy who is going to have an advantage, a big advantage over his opponent here, and that is we got Bermudez, Dennis the Menace Bermudez versus Jimy Hettes. Now Hettes is 3-1 in the UFC, so it's very respectable. But the fight that I compare this to the most is Brimage. Brimage loss here, the Brimage loss he had, and another fight that I think of when I think about matchup like this is way back when Jake Ellenberger, I believe he was making his UFC debut, fought this guy named Dustin Hazlett. And Dustin, the line first of all was ridiculous in my opinion. That was one of the fights where I was just, oh man, I was just like, this is a great line for me to invest in, a great fight for me to invest in. And of course I was on Ellenberger in that fight. And it's a powerful, strong wrestler with heavy hands going up against a guy with very good jiu-jitsu. Hettes is better than Hazlett, much better in my opinion. And Bermudez at this point of his career is about as good as Ellenberger was at that point of his career, but just doesn't have the same knockout power. But the comparison is there because it's a very similar matchup. So Hettes is going to have to get the fight to the ground because on the feet he's going to get knocked out or he's going to get hurt and then TKO'd on the ground. So he's got to get the fight to the ground. His shot is to get the submission. With Bermudez, 5-1 in the UFC on a 5-fight win streak. He's in control of this fight. It's his fight. He's got the power, the strength. He can use his wrestling defensively and keep the fight on the feet to knock out Hettes. So Bermudez, he's got the experience, the win streak, the power, the wrestling that I would advise him not to use offensively. In this case, keep it on the feet. And he likes to stand and bang, so this will be perfect for him. He just has to be careful. And I like Bermudez here to get the knockout. So I really like Bermudez in this spot. And then moving right along to the ladies. So we have Andrade versus Pennington. Pennington 1-0 in the UFC, but let's face it, Roxy is done. As cool as she is, and the happy warrior that she is, she's done. And so that doesn't carry a whole lot of weight for me for that victory. She does have a big reach advantage, so she should keep that. Use that reach advantage to keep Andrade at bay, and also counter-strike Andrade because Andrade is very aggressive. The part that concerns me is that she's a pre-med student, and that is a lot of hours and a lot of homework. So for somebody like Andrade, who is just this Brazilian aggressive girl, she's 1-1 in the UFC. She made her debut against Carmouche, which is unbelievable. In the first round, I liked the way she looked, but in the second round, of course, she got beaten up on the ground. What Carmouche does best. So she's like a little mini cyborg. She comes very fearless, very aggressive, comes forward to overpower and to finish her opponents. And what she did to Sexton was impressive. Although Sexton also is done. She has a lot of heart. Sexton has a lot of heart. She's a smart woman, but her career is over with, and it's time for her to move on. So with Andrade, it's very interesting. These two girls fought women, who are at the later stages of their career, and so this is a very interesting matchup. Who's going to rise here? And I believe it'll be Andrade, so I'm going to go with Andrade by either knockout or decision. Actually, by that one could be even a submission. So Andrade's there for sure. And then for the next fight, wow, this one is very interesting. This is one of my favorite matchups of the night. and that is Kelvin versus Rick Story. So Gastelum versus Story. Now, like I said, they're very evenly matched. Story looked very good in his last fight versus Ebersol, and he trained at TriStar for that fight with GSP and with Kelvin, and now he's training with Jake Shields in San Francisco, and of course his Brave Legion team in Washington. So he's very well rounded, but he's very hit and miss. You know, he wins one, he loses one. He wins one, he loses one. And with Gastelum, like I said, he trained with him at TriStar. Kelvin calls him out, call him out. Hey, I think it'd be a great fight. I think I can beat him. Kelvin's 2-0 in the UFC, 7-0 overall. And what I like about this guy, he's constantly improving, especially in the striking. He's got really good wrestling. He's got that good 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. And he trained with Johny Hendricks for this camp. So that is a very good thing for him. He surrounds himself with good coaches and fighters. He's trained at Rain and, like I said, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. So he's a smart guy, and I expect him to come out victorious in this fight via decision. So I'm going with Kelvin Gastelum by decision. And for the next fight, this is one of my favorite ones of the night. One of my favorite ones to invest in, and we got OSP taking on Nikita Krylov. So Krylov, his first fight at 205, and with all the turmoil and all the stuff that's going on in the Ukraine, that is not a good thing for him. It's unfortunate, and going into this fight, he may have a heavy heart, emotionally, mentally. It's a sad thing. So that with the bad cardio, he doesn't have good cardio, and his opponents in the UFC have been, bottom of the barrel heavyweights. He hasn't fought any of the top guys, and now he's dropping down to 205. He's getting a shot against a guy who is going to outpower him, outsmart him, outspeed him. OSP. His wrestling is going to be better. He's going to be much more explosive. He's going to get the takedown and go for the ground and pound TKO finish or sink in a choke. He's been training with Brian Stan and Douglas Lima, so he's got some very good training partners. He's got the luxury of being, with one of the best teams here in the United States. So I really like OSP in this spot a lot. I think he'll finish him in the first round to start us off on the pay-per-view. So OSP for the win, Ovince St. Preux. Now the next fight is, like I told you guys in the beginning, stacked. So we got Hector Lombard, mi tocayo Hector versus Jake Shields. And Jake Shields is a tough son of a gun. This guy is one tough out. He's got a proven track record. He upsets folks left and right. Hector said it like it is. He's boring. He's boring, like Hector said, but he is effective. So he'll use his wrestling. He's like a Shields is like a zombie. When I watch him fight, he's just kind of awkward, and he's just got this awkward thing about him. But he's just effective, man. This guy just wins, and I can't count him out here as much as I want to count him out, because Lombard, it's going to be his second fight at 170. He looked very comfortable at the weigh-ins, was bouncing around, full of energy. He knows exactly what Jake Shields is going to want to do. Lombard is a powerhouse, stocky. It's going to be very difficult to take down. He retains all that strength he had at 185. Now he's 170 pounds. He's got knockout power. Jake Shields has been knocked out before. And he's going to have the takedown defense to keep it on the feet. So I expect Hector to get the knockout here. At worst, win a decision. So Hector Lombard for the pick. The next fight, Diego Durango, as Rashad Evans nicknamed Durango Sanchez, versus Myles Jury. Wow, are you kidding me or what? Jury. Okay, one thing I got to get out there, because people have been talking about it, and I've heard it so many times already. Yes, Myles Jury beat Michael Johnson, but that Michael Johnson that he beat is not the same Michael Johnson that we've been watching on TV. That Michael Johnson is the one that in his next fight lost to Reza Madadi. So let's not get too hyped up on that. Myles does train at Alliance with Chandler, with Stevens, with Davis, with Gustafsson, with all these great fighters. He's very technical. He's a precise striker. He's a smart guy. He's got good excellent jiu-jitsu, very good wrestling. So he's a dangerous, well-rounded opponent. And with Sanchez, we get a guy who is proven over the years. I mean, just this guy's a fighter, the definition of a fighter. He gets in brawls. That's his fight. He wants to get in a brawl because his chin is unbelievable. One of the best chins in all of MMA. And he is talking a lot of noise right now. Best shape of his life, most focused he's ever been, most at peace with himself, mentally, spiritually, physically, which are all things you want in a fighter. So we take a look at his last fight, 29-28 against Melendez. Melendez is top 2, top 3 in the world. And for Diego to do that, I mean, it is just unbelievable the way he has come back to life. When he fought that Gomi fight, that was just a big screw up of a fight. And a lot of people were saying he's done, he deserved to lose that fight. But he has shown us that, he's basically this guy's basically reinvented himself. And I'm going to side with Diego Sanchez here. So I'm going to say Diego Sanchez by decision. And also one other thing I want to take notice of and talk about is that he is supposed to follow a different type of game plan in this fight. We know he's a Greg Jackson fighter, so he has those guys in his corner, and I expect him to fight a different fight. Now, whether he does it or not, well, that's why I can't invest in him just yet. If he wins this fight and sticks to Greg Jackson type of game plan, we'll see. But Myles Jury, like I said, is a smart guy, and he has the tools to win the fight. And Myles is a slight favorite, so he should win it. But like I said, I'm still going with Diego, and but I'm not betting it. The next one, Woodley versus Condit. Condit, proven Greg Jackson fighter. This guy can do it all. If there's a weakness in his game, it's his wrestling. So he's going to want to keep it standing. He's got knees, he's got elbows, he's got punches, he's got kicks. He's smart. He'll follow the game plan. So he's got everything you want in a fighter, except Tyron Woodley has that wrestling, that explosive, fast twitch muscle fiber, pressure. And that takes away that advantage that Condit has on the feet. And because of that, Woodley can use that wrestling to his advantage and counter-strike Condit. And we know Woodley has impressive knockout power. So in this particular fight, I think it's time that Woodley steps up, and I think he will. I've got Woodley winning by decision, 29-28. With Woodley winning rounds 1 and 2, and then Condit coming on to win the third. And Condit basically laid it out. He said, I wish this fight was 5 rounds, because he knows that 3, 4, 5, that's probably Condit, but 1 and 2 is probably going to be Woodley. So yeah, Woodley for the win there for sure. And then the main event, god dang it. So for this one, I'm upset because this fight card, this 171, I was going into this fight with the belief and the impression and all the homework and all the time I spent that Hendricks was going to convincingly and decisively win this fight. And then we have the debacle that we had with the weight scale, and I mean that was just ridiculous. I mean, you're telling me that Johny Hendricks has a $1,500 scale that he weighs himself on, and he left it unattended at a public gym, and the people are jumping on it. I mean, this just sounds like a ridiculous story. And when we're making investments of this caliber, we can't be part of any of that. So now it's a total wash. It's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So just remove myself from that situation, and now I gotta wait till the next fight, to see what the heck's going on. But let's talk about Lawler first. Lawler, what a comeback. I mean, what a comeback of a career. The McDonald's fight was unbelievable. He showed a lot of heart. He barely squeaked by there. He's got excellent knockout power, good takedown defense, and when he gets taken down, he'll find a way to get back up. So tons of respect for Lawler and what he can do. But the Hendricks and the GSP that fight on the same night that he fought McDonald are on another level. Those two are the two best in the world. Hendricks is the uncrowned welterweight champ of the world. He's got ridiculous wrestling. He's got ridiculous power. Just go back and watch the knockouts he had on Campman and Fitch. I mean, it's something unbelievable. But like I said, what the fuck happened at the weigh-ins in these last couple days? I want to believe him because Kelvin missed weight too. I know those two are together, but it's like what's going on here? It's not something that you want to see. And of course he made weight, but that was second, third attempt, and that's not acceptable. So I'm upset about that. But you know what? We gotta move on and move forward. So let's go straight to the good stuff. There are some good ones here. 5 stars, none. Unfortunately, 4 stars, none, unfortunately, but there are 5 3-star picks, and 2 of them being towards the top. So the number 1 pick I have is Alex Garcia. I really like this guy. I love what I've seen of him. I love what he has shown us, what he's proven to us, and I love him there at that number 1 spot. Number 2, Ovince St. Preux, OSP. Once again, I feel the way I feel about Garcia, just a powerful, fast, smart guy surrounding himself with great training partners, and just a hungry fighter prospect on the rise. Number 3, very similar, Tyron Woodley. Now he's a level below them, a little bit below them, and I'll go into how we're going to do that. But Tyron Woodley, just another specimen. Another guy very similar, number 4, Dennis Bermudez. And then number 5, Henne Forch. So we'll go down to the MMA Dogs bets. So 1 unit equals 1% of the bankroll. We've got Garcia at -380 and OSP at minus 360. 2-leg parlay that gives us -163. So we're going to go ahead and risk 4.5 units to win 2.76. The next bet, Woodley at +145, 2 units to win 2.90. Next bet, Bermudez, -240, 2 units to win 0.83. And the bet after that will be Forch at -135, 2 units to win 1.48. So total we're risking is 10.5 units to win 7.97. So that wraps it up. Let's see, we're at the about 30-minute mark. So it wraps it up for tonight here. What else is there here? So check out our website. You can go to mmadawgs.com. Like I said, I appreciate all of our clients. I appreciate all of our supporters. If you're on the fence about it, if you're thinking about it, you're like, should I not? We have a guaranteed profit model. So if you don't profit following our bets and our picks, then you get a refund. So that is a great way of doing it. And to top it off, we'll give you the next card for free. So we are in it to win it. We're in it for the long run to make as much money as possible. I mean, just trying to profit as much as possible, and doing our homework. Like I told you guys in the last video, I'm in charge of the predictions and the picks and the bets, and that allows me the time to focus solely on that. And then my dog is taking care of the website, social media, which is a lot of work. So he's taking care of that. So it's a great team. We're doing this all on our own. We don't have investors. We don't have a big website that we have to respond to, or that we have to listen to or obey. And we like it that way. It's just us two. We do it our way. And we have all our track record. We've got everything up on our site. You can see everything. You go back and watch videos from last year. You can see it all here. So we're very excited about it. Very happy with the way things are going. Of course, just like any other, just like anyone else who invests in sports, or you bet, or you wager, whatever you want to call it, we want to win more and we want to do better than last week or last event. So we're constantly working, constantly looking to evolve, to improve, to do better. What else can we offer our clients? What else can we offer our supporters? So that's it in a nutshell. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys real soon.
Nobody likes to lose, so be done letting that money burn its way through your pockets. Slow down, get ready. We are so confident that you will profit from our picks that if you don't, we will refund your money and give you the next card on us. In order to profit in the long run, it's important to be consistent with our picks. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was Vegas. MMAdogs.com. Profit guaranteed. MMA Dogs.